Coach's forbidden training camp with 2 alien teens goes way too far. Arrival at Nexus Station. The transport shuttle's engines hummed as it docked with Nexus Station, the galaxy's premier athletic training facility. Kira Chen pressed her forehead against the viewport, watching the massive rotating rings of the station grow larger. 5 years of training on Earth had led to this moment. 3 months at Nexus before the Interstellar Championship. "First time at Nexus?" asked a melodic voice beside her. Kira turned to see a woman with striking lavender skin and golden bronze hair pulled back in an athletic braid. Her amber eyes sparkled with friendly curiosity. "That obvious?" Kira smiled. Kira Chen, Earth Delegation. Naira Koran, Valari Imperium. Naira's handshake was firm. "Don't worry, I've been here before. The variable gravity zones take some getting used to, but they're incredible for training." As they disembarked, another woman approached, identical to Naira but with an air of quiet intensity rather than easy friendliness. "My sister, Zyla," Naira introduced. "We're both competing in the singles division." Zyla nodded politely, her gaze assessing. "Chen, I've watched your matches. Your serve technique is unconventional but effective." "Thanks, I think." Kira laughed. The three made their way through the gleaming corridors to the athlete housing wing. A holographic attendant directed them to their quarters, and to Kira's surprise, all three had been assigned adjacent rooms in the same training block. "Looks like we'll be neighbors," Naira said cheerfully. "And training partners, apparently," Zyla added, checking her datapad. "We're all scheduled for the same variable G block assignments." Kira felt a flutter of nerves. She'd expected to train alone, to keep her techniques secret from competitors. But as she looked at the Koran sisters, Naira's warm smile and Zyla's thoughtful expression, she wondered if maybe this wouldn't be so bad. "See you both at 0600 tomorrow?" Kira asked. "First one there buys breakfast," Naira challenged. "You're on." Unexpected allies. The training facility's main arena was a marvel of engineering, a spherical chamber where gravity could be adjusted in real time. Kira arrived at 0550, determined to win the breakfast bet, only to find both Koran sisters already warming up in the low-gravity zone. "Overachiever," Kira called out, floating gracefully through the entrance field. Naira grinned, executing a perfect mid-air spin. "Early bird gets the medal." "Or in this case, free breakfast from you," Zyla added with the faintest smile. The training session started with basic drills, but it quickly became clear that each athlete had vastly different strengths. Kira's Earth-trained reflexes were lightning fast in standard gravity but clumsy in 0G. The Valari sisters moved like dancers in weightlessness but struggled with Earth-normal conditions. "You're fighting the gravity," Naira observed as Kira fumbled another catch. "Try thinking of it as water. Flow with it." "And you two are overcompensating in standard G," Kira replied. "You're so used to controlling every movement that you're not letting momentum work for you." Zyla paused mid-drill, her analytical mind clearly processing. "Show us." For the next hour, something unexpected happened. Instead of guarding their techniques, they began teaching each other. Kira demonstrated Earth's momentum-based plays. Naira shared Valari breathing techniques that improved control in any gravity. Zyla broke down the mathematical precision of trajectory calculation. "This is weird, right?" Naira said during a water break, her lavender skin glistening with exertion. "We're supposed to be rivals." "Technically, we are," Zyla agreed. "The championship is individual competition." "But we're not competing today," Kira pointed out. "Today we're just three athletes trying to get better." A comfortable silence settled over them, broken only by the hum of the gravity generators. "Want to try the extreme rotation drill?" Naira asked suddenly, her eyes bright with mischief. "Fair warning, it's brutal." "I'm in," Kira said immediately. Even Zyla nodded. "Let's see what we're capable of." They spent the afternoon pushing each other through increasingly difficult drills, shouting encouragement, offering corrections, and occasionally collapsing in exhausted laughter when someone completely botched a maneuver. By the time the session ended, all three were drenched in sweat but energized. "Same time tomorrow." Zyla asked as they headed to the showers. Absolutely, Kira agreed. As she walked back to her quarters that evening, Kira realized something had shifted. She'd come to Nexus expecting isolation and fierce competition. Instead, she'd found something she hadn't known she needed, equals who challenged her to be better. Her communicator pinged, a message from Naira. Training playlist attached. Earth music is wild. Want to share Veilari tracks tomorrow? Kira smiled and replied, deal. The Storm Protocol. The alarm woke Kira at 0300, emergency lights bathing her room in red. Her communicator crackled with the facility's automated warning, solar storm approaching. All personnel to designated safe zones. Training wing lockdown in 10 minutes. She threw on her training suit and rushed into the corridor, nearly colliding with the Corrin sisters. Training wing. Naira asked breathlessly. It's the closest safe zone, Zyla confirmed, already running. They made it through the reinforced doors with 90 seconds to spare. The heavy locks engaged with a resonating thud that echoed through the empty arena. Through the observation windows, they could see the station's outer shields shimmering as they reinforced against the incoming radiation storm. How long? Kira asked. Zyla checked her datapad. 48 hours minimum. Maybe 72 if it's a bad one. The training wing was well stocked with emergency supplies, but it was designed for short-term refuge, not comfort. The three claimed sleeping mats from the supply locker and set up camp in the observation lounge, where massive windows showed the angry orange and purple clouds of the solar storm beginning to buffet the station's shields. Well, Naira said with forced cheerfulness, at least we have plenty of space to train. But after 6 hours of drills, more to burn off nervous energy than for improvement, they were exhausted and bored. The storm raged outside, beautiful and terrifying. Inside, silence pressed down on them. Tell me something true, Naira said suddenly, staring out at the storm. Something you've never told anyone. Kira looked at her in surprise. That's random. We're stuck here for 2 days. We can make small talk and go crazy, or we can actually talk. Naira's usual playfulness had faded into something more vulnerable. I'll go first. I'm terrified of the championship. Not of losing, of winning. Zyla turned to her sister, equally surprised. What? Why? Because if I win, Father will expect me to give up athletics and take up royal duties full-time. He only allowed this because he thought it would be a phase. Naira's voice cracked slightly. This might be my last competition ever, and I'm not ready for it to end. Zyla was quiet for a long moment. I'm terrified of losing, she admitted softly. I've always been the responsible one, the heir everyone expects to succeed at everything. If I fail at this... She trailed off. Both sisters looked at Kira. She took a breath. I'm competing to prove someone wrong. My coach, my former coach. He died 2 years ago, right before he could see me qualify for Nexus. His last words to me were that I'd never make it without him. The admission hurt more than she expected. Part of me is here to honor his memory. But another part just wants to prove that I was always good enough on my own. The storm howled outside. That's heavy, Naira said quietly. Yeah. Want to know what I think? Zyla asked, her analytical mask slipping away. I think we're all carrying too much. These competitions, they're supposed to be about joy, about pushing ourselves. But we've turned them into life or death referendums on our worth. So what do we do? Kira asked. Naira smiled, sad but genuine. We compete for ourselves. For the love of it. And we support each other, no matter who wins. They talked through the night, about dreams and fears, about families and futures, about everything except volleyball. They shared meals from emergency rations, laughed at terrible jokes, and watched the storm slowly exhaust itself against the station's shields. When dawn simulation lights finally flickered on, announcing the end of the lockdown, something fundamental had changed between them. They were no longer just training partners or friendly rivals. They were friends. Breaking through. The weeks following the storm flew by in a blur of training, laughter, and discovery. The three athletes fell into an easy rhythm: early morning sessions in variable gravity, afternoon strength training, evenings analyzing match footage together in Kira's quarters. "You're dropping your shoulder again," Zyla noted, pausing the holographic replay of Kira's practice match. "Because I'm anticipating the spin too early," Kira realized. "Naira, show me that Veilari wrist technique again." What emerged from their collaboration was something none of them had expected: a hybrid style that combined Earth's explosive power, Veilari precision, and their collective innovation. Other athletes in the facility began to notice. Whispers spread through the training wings about the Nexus 3 who had somehow turned rivalry into synergy. One afternoon, during a particularly intense zero-G drill, something clicked. Naira executed a serve using Earth momentum principles, Zyla received it with modified timing, and Kira spiked it with Veilari rotational control. The ball moved so fast the tracking system barely registered it. They floated in stunned silence. "Did we just," Kira started, "create something completely new?" Zyla finished, her eyes wide. "Yes." Naira laughed in disbelief. "The coaches are going to lose their minds when they see this at championship." But the excitement was bittersweet. Championship qualifiers were only 2 weeks away, and after that, they'd compete against each other for real. The easy camaraderie would give way to professional rivalry, regardless of their friendship. "I don't want this to end," Naira admitted one evening as they watched ships come and go from the station's observation deck. "It doesn't have to," Kira said. "We compete as individuals, but we're still a team." Zyla offered quietly. "Friends," Kira corrected. "Whatever happens in the championship, that doesn't change." Zyla nodded slowly, her usual reserve cracking. "I've spent my whole life being told that connections are weaknesses, that competitors can never be allies. But you two have made me stronger, not weaker." "Same," Naira agreed. "I came to Nexus thinking I had to do this alone. But training with you both, I've improved more in 3 months than in 3 years back home." Kira felt a tightness in her chest. "My old coach used to say that greatness requires isolation. But he was wrong. This," she gestured between the three of them, "this is what makes us great." The qualifier matches arrived like a storm. All three advanced easily, their new techniques leaving opponents scrambling. But advancement meant something else. They were now officially championship competitors, and the facility's rules required them to train separately for the final 2 weeks before the main event. Their last training session together was quiet, almost reverent. No jokes, no competition, just 3 athletes who had found something rare and precious in each other. "Promise me something," Naira said as they prepared to leave the arena. "When we're out there competing, we give it everything. No holding back, no guilt." "Agreed," Zyla said firmly. "We honor this by being our absolute best." "And afterward?" Kira asked. Naira smiled. "Afterward, we celebrate together. Winner buys dinner, and this time, I mean really expensive dinner." They stood in a circle, hands clasped in the center, earth pale, Veilari lavender, together. "To the Nexus 3, Kira said. "To friendship," Zyla added. "To being unstoppable," Naira finished with a grin. Championship dawn. The Interstellar Championship arena was beyond anything Kira had imagined. 50,000 spectators from 100 worlds filled the stadium, their voices creating a sound like the ocean. Holographic displays showed competitor rankings. Kira was seeded 7th, Zyla 3rd, Naira 5th. The tournament format was brutal: single elimination, best of 3 games, variable gravity randomly selected for each match. 1 loss and you were done. Kira watched from the competitor's box as Zyla demolished her first opponent with surgical precision, every movement calculated, every shot perfect. Then Naira took the court, her usual playfulness transformed into fierce determination. She won in straight games, and the crowd roared. Kira's first match was against a Talaxian champion who had never lost at Nexus. The gravity randomizer settled on 0.7 Earth normal, not ideal for either of them. But as Kira served, she felt something unexpected: calm. She could hear Zyla's voice in her head coaching her trajectory, feel Naira's encouragement in her stance. She won 25-22, 27-25. The tournament progressed day by day. All three continued advancing. Kira beat competitors who should have dominated her. Xyla played with a fluidity that had previously been hidden beneath her rigid precision. Naira's joy for the game shone through every point, infectious and unstoppable. By the semifinals, the impossible had happened. The Nexus 3 had made it to the Final Four. Kira faced Naira in one semifinal, while Xyla competed in the other. Standing across the court from Naira, Kira felt a complex tangle of emotions. This was her friend, her training partner, but also the obstacle between her and the finals. "Ready?" Naira called, her smile bright but her eyes serious. "Always." It was the most beautiful match Kira had ever played. They pushed each other to impossible heights, each point a conversation in movement and strategy. The crowd fell silent, mesmerized. When Kira's final spike landed just inside the line, winning 28-26 in the third game, she felt triumph and heartbreak simultaneously. Naira vaulted the net and pulled her into a fierce hug. "That was incredible," she whispered. "Now go win this whole thing." Xyla won her semi-final minutes later, equally dominant. The finals were scheduled for the next evening: Earth versus Velari, Chen versus Corrin, friend versus friend. That night, Kira found both sisters waiting outside her quarters. Couldn't sleep either. Xyla asked. "Too much adrenaline," Kira admitted. They walked to the observation deck together, watching stars wheel past in the darkness. No one spoke of the match, of strategy, or stakes. They simply existed together in the moment, three people who had found each other across the vastness of space. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Xyla said quietly, "this has been the greatest experience of my life." "Mine too," Naira agreed. Kira nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Dawn simulation began, painting artificial light across the station. Championship day had arrived. The match itself was legendary, a three-game battle that would be analyzed and discussed for years. Kira played with everything she had, channeling all her grief and determination and hope. Xyla met her point for point with breathtaking precision. The score climbed, 24-24, 25-25, 26-26. At 29-29 in the deciding game, Kira served. Xyla returned. Rally. Counter. Defense. Attack. They moved like mirror images, anticipating each other, pushing each other higher. Kira's final spike was the best shot of her life, and Xyla's diving save was impossible, miraculous, perfect. The ball arced back over the net. Kira, off balance, could only watch as it dropped. 30-29. Championship point. Xyla's serve was pure poetry. Kira Dove got her fingers on it, but the ball went wide. 31-29. Xyla Corrin, Interstellar champion. The stadium erupted. Kira lay on the court, chest heaving, staring at the lights above. She'd lost. After everything, she'd come up short. Then hands were pulling her up, Xyla's grip firm and sure, tears streaming down her lavender face. "That was perfect," Xyla said, voice breaking. "You were perfect." Naira crashed into them both, and suddenly all three were holding each other, crying and laughing in the center of the court while the galaxy watched. "I'm sorry," Kira gasped. "I wanted." "Don't," Xyla interrupted fiercely. "Don't apologize for being extraordinary. You made me better. You both did. This medal," she gestured to where officials were approaching with the trophy, "it belongs to all of us." The ceremony was a blur. But afterward, in the quiet of the celebration hall, the three of them sat together with expensive dinner that Xyla had indeed bought, medals and rankings forgotten. "So," Naira said, raising her glass, "what's next for the Nexus 3? Kira smiled. "The next championship is in 2 years. Train together again." Xyla asked hopefully. "Obviously," Kira said. "Though next time, I'm winning." "We'll see about that," Xyla countered with a rare full smile. They clinked glasses, three athletes from different worlds who had discovered that the greatest victory wasn't standing on a podium. It was finding people who made you better, who celebrated your success and caught you when you fell, who who transformed competition into collaboration and rivals into family. Outside, the stars turned in their ancient dance. Inside, three friends laughed together, already planning their next impossible dream. Lessons learned. True strength is found in community, not isolation. The greatest achievements come not from shutting others out, but from lifting each other up and growing together. Competition and friendship are not opposites. You can strive to defeat someone on the field while celebrating their excellence and supporting their dreams off it. Success is richer when shared. A medal won alone is just metal and ribbon. Victory celebrated with those who helped you reach it becomes a cherished memory that lasts forever. Let go of proving yourself to ghosts. The people worth honoring don't need you to prove anything. They want you to be happy, to grow, and to find joy in what you love. The end.